The first fence I ever built taught me a lesson I probably should have learned before spending $400 on timber and donating 2 full weekends of my life to the noble human tradition of making future problems for myself. At the time, I thought I was building privacy. I thought I was building a boundary. I thought I was doing what responsible homeowners do when they want to stop staring in neighbors' bins, trampoline, patio furniture, or whatever other crimes against landscape design happen beyond the property line. So I bought timber panels, dug holes, set posts, lined everything up, stood back, and admired my work. For a while, it looked like a fence. Then the posts started rotting at the base. Not dramatically at first. What is polite like that? It does not collapse immediately. It just slowly becomes worse while pretending everything is fine. One panel leaned, then another one started to wobble. I replaced the worst parts. Then the replacements began to rot too. I painted them. I treated them. I propped them up with stakes. I spent more time keeping the fence alive than I had spent building it in the first place. And one autumn afternoon, standing in the garden, looking at this sad line of treated timber trying its best to remain vertical, I realized something. I had not built a fence. I had bought myself a maintenance subscription. That is what most modern fencing really is. You pay for it once, then you keep paying for it in time. Repairs, paint, treatments, replacements, storm damage, and the quiet emotional humiliation of watching a supposedly permanent structure slowly return to compost. The fence that replaced, it was completely different. After the first year, it cost me almost nothing. It did not rot. It did not blow over in storms. It did not need panels replaced. It got thicker every season. It became more effective instead of weaker. It filtered wind, improved the soil around it, captured carbon, gave shelter to birds and insects, and in some places even produced food. What I planted was a mixed living hedge. And once you understand living fences, ordinary timber panels start to look a little absurd. Your great-grandparents understood this perfectly well. Farmers used to fence entire homesteads with plants. No hardware store. No rolls of treated lumber. No weekend spent arguing with a spirit level. Just living boundaries that grew stronger over time. In Britain, there are hawthorn hedges still standing today that were planted before America was even colonized. They have outlasted governments, wars, roads, farms, and generations of people who thought they were very important at the time. That knowledge never disappeared. It just became inconvenient for industries that make money selling you fences that wear out. So if you live in a temperate climate and you want privacy, shelter, security, food, wildlife value, and a boundary that improves instead of declines, these are some of the best living fence plants to consider. Let us begin with hybrid willow, because if your main problem is speed, this plant does not mess around. Hybrid willow is one of the fastest ways to create privacy with living material. Under good conditions, it can grow several feet in a single season, sometimes enough to turn a bare strip of ground into a real screen before the year is over. The almost ridiculous part is how easy it is to propagate. You can take cuttings in late winter, push them into damp ground, and they root with a level of enthusiasm usually reserved for weeds and bad decisions. One established plant can give you more cuttings, and those cuttings can extend the hedge for almost no cost. The key difference between hybrid willow and something like bamboo is control. Bamboo can spread underground and start a cold war with your neighbor's garden, paving, drains, and possibly their will to live. Hybrid willow is much more manageable when planted correctly. It grows quickly, fills gaps fast, and creates a dense screen within a couple of growing seasons. If you need privacy soon, not in some distant retirement fantasy, hybrid willow is one of the most practical starting points. Then there is the Empress tree, sometimes called Paulownia, which is famous for one very specific reason: speed. Under the right conditions, it can put on astonishing growth in a single season. It produces huge heart-shaped leaves that create a dense tropical-looking screen very quickly, and in spring it can cover itself with purple flowers before the leaves appear. The Empress tree can be cut hard and managed almost like a giant shrub. This technique, called coppicing, means cutting the plant back so it regrows from the base. That keeps the height under control and encourages strong new growth with large leaves. It is useful if you want the screening effect without letting the plant become a full-size tree. There is one serious note here, because apparently plants also need legal disclaimers now. In some regions, the Empress tree can be considered invasive. Before planting it, check your local regulations and choose sterile or control varieties where appropriate. Used responsibly, it can be an incredible screen. Used carelessly, it can become your garden's way of declaring independence. Leyland cypress is another classic privacy plant, and for good reason. It appeared by accident in a Welsh garden in the late 19th century when Monterey cypress and Nootka cypress crossed. The result was a fast-growing evergreen that became one of the most widely planted screening trees in North America. Its main advantage is reliability. It does not have the wild, explosive behavior of some ultra-fast growers, but it grows steadily, fills in well, and stays green all year. That matters because deciduous hedges can look fantastic in summer and then spend winter revealing every single thing you were trying to hide. Leyland cypress has soft, feathery foliage and creates a tall, solid screen within a few years. It also handles coastal conditions better than many plants, including salt spray, which makes it useful for properties near the sea. It needs some pruning to maintain density, but it is not complicated. It grows where you put it, it stays there, and it does the job. Thuja Green Giant is similar in purpose, but even more forgiving. This hybrid evergreen has become one of the most recommended screening plants because it tolerates a wide range of climates and conditions. It can handle cold, heat, many soil types, and a surprising amount of neglect. Humans love neglecting things and then acting shocked when they fail, so this is a useful trait. Thuja Green Giant grows quickly while keeping a naturally neat shape. It does not need constant shaping to look presentable. The foliage is dense, green, and slightly fragrant when brushed. It is also relatively resistant to many pest and disease problems, and deer often ignore it compared with other evergreens. For a difficult garden where other screening plants have failed because of weather, browsing animals, or disease, Thuja Green Giant is one of the safer choices. It is not the most romantic plant in the world, but neither is a wooden panel from a DIY store, and at least this one is alive. Privet deserves respect because it has been used as a hedge for centuries. The Romans planted privet to define boundaries, and the tradition still continues across Europe. That kind of track record matters. A plant does not remain useful for 2,000 years because gardeners are sentimental. It remains useful because it works. Privet tolerates hard pruning extremely well. Cut it back and it responds by becoming denser. Let it grow for a season and it can still be brought back into shape. Semi-evergreen types keep much of their foliage through winter, while deciduous types often grow faster but lose more leaves. In summer, privet produces fragrant white flowers that attract pollinators. With regular pruning, it forms a tight, formal hedge that can become almost wall-like. It is one of the best options for people who want a clean, classic boundary rather than a wilder woodland-style hedge. Lombardy poplar is a different kind of screen. It is not spread wide like many trees. Instead, it shoots upward in a narrow column. If you have ever driven through parts of northern Italy and seen those tall green columns lining roads and fields, you have seen exactly why people use them. The shape is the point. A mature Lombardy poplar can grow very tall while staying relatively narrow, which makes it useful for blocking upper-level views from nearby houses or buildings. It creates height quickly without taking over the entire garden horizontally. The downside is lifespan. Lombardy poplars are not the longest-lived trees, and they can decline after a couple of decades. A smart approach is to plant replacements in stages so the whole screen does not fail at once. Think of it as succession planning, but for trees, which already makes more sense than most corporate succession planning. Eucalyptus is another strong candidate, especially if you want a screen that brings scent, color, and atmosphere as well as privacy. There are hundreds of eucalyptus species, and some colder hardy types can survive in temperate gardens that would once have been considered unsuitable. The foliage is often blue-green or silver, giving the plant a distinctive look throughout the year. Many species grow quickly and can be managed by coppicing, which keeps them bushier and more hedge-like. The aromatic oils in the leaves are also known for helping repel some insects, so a eucalyptus screen can function as a kind of passive pest barrier. It is not the right plant for every location. Some species can become too large, and in dry climates, eucalyptus can carry fire risk. But when chosen carefully, it can be a beautiful, fragrant, fast-growing living fence with real character. Mulberry brings something extra: food. For thousands of years, mulberry trees were cultivated in Asia, especially because their leaves fed silkworms. But for gardeners, the fruit is the real reward. A mulberry hedge can provide privacy, shade, wildlife value, and a heavy crop of sweet berries. The flavor is somewhere between blackberry and grape, rich and slightly messy in the best possible way. Birds love mulberries too, which can be useful. If birds are busy eating mulberries, they may leave more of your strawberries, currants, and blueberries alone. A decoy fruiting hedge is a very elegant way to solve a problem that humans usually attack with plastic netting and complaints. Mulberries tolerate heat, drought, poor soil, and neglect. They grow quickly, branch densely, and can form a strong visual screen. Even in winter, the structure of the branches gives some privacy after the leaves fall. If you want a fence that feeds both you and wildlife, mulberry is hard to ignore. Black locust is one of the most practical trees on this list. Early American settlers valued it because the wood is incredibly rot-resistant. Fence posts made from black locust could last for decades in the ground without chemical treatment. That alone would make it useful, but as a living fence, it does even more. Black locust fixes nitrogen in the soil, much like peas and beans. That means it improves the ground around it while it grows. A living fence of black locust can build privacy and fertility at the same time, which is a neat trick for a tree and more than can be said for most garden products sold in plastic bags. It also produces fragrant white flowers in spring, which are valuable for bees, and its thorny branches can create a genuine security barrier. This is not a soft, ornamental hedge politely suggesting where the boundary is. This is a plant with opinions. For larger properties, rough boundaries, food forests, or working gardens, black locust is extremely useful. It may sucker in some conditions, so it needs management, but the benefits are significant if you have the space. Hawthorn may be the most historically proven living fence plant in Europe. Walk through the British countryside, and you will find ancient hawthorn hedges that have been marking boundaries for centuries. Some are older than many countries' current legal systems, which is a bleak but impressive comparison. Hawthorn forms dense, thorny growth that livestock and people do not easily push through. Traditional farmers used a method called hedge laying, where stems were partially cut and woven sideways to create a living barrier. The result was a fence that was not only alive but structurally strong. In spring, hawthorn produces masses of white flowers that support insects. In autumn, it carries red berries that feed birds through winter. It grows more slowly than the fastest plants on this list, but it can live for centuries. If you want something permanent, wildlife-friendly, and genuinely traditional, hawthorn is one of the strongest choices. Rose of Sharon is for people who want privacy without making the garden look like a military perimeter. It is a flowering shrub with large hibiscus-like blooms that appear from midsummer into autumn, when many other plants have already finished performing and returned to being green furniture. The flowers can be white, pink, purple, or blue depending on the variety, and they attract hummingbirds, butterflies, and other pollinators. Even after the leaves drop, the dense twiggy structure still provides some screening. Rose of Sharon tolerates heat, drought, and poorer soils better than many flowering shrubs. It can also self-seed, filling small gaps over time. In some regions, that self-seeding needs to be managed, but in a hedge, it can be useful. It creates a softer, prettier boundary, suitable for front gardens or places where you want privacy without sacrificing flowers. Osage orange is one of the most serious living fence plants ever used. Before European settlement, it grew mainly in parts of what are now Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Native peoples valued its wood for bows because it was strong, flexible, and durable. Frontier farmers later discovered that it made an almost unbeatable hedge. A properly managed Osage orange hedge was famously described as horse-high, bull-strong, and pig-tight. In plain English, that means tall enough, strong enough, and dense enough to stop almost anything that tried to get through it. The thorns are fierce, the growth is dense, and the wood is among the most rot-resistant in North America. In fact, demand for Osage orange hedges was so high on the American frontier that farmers could not get enough plants quickly enough. That shortage helped drive the invention and adoption of barbed wire in the 19th century. Barbed wire, one of the most important fencing inventions in modern history, became popular partly because this plant could not be grown fast enough to meet demand. That is a fairly strong recommendation. When an entire industrial product rises because a plant was too useful and too slow to supply, the plant deserves attention. Hybrid poplar is perhaps the most balanced option of all. It grows quickly, establishes easily, and creates privacy within a few seasons. It tolerates a range of soils, including wet ground and poor ground, and it is usually inexpensive to buy as bare rootstock in quantity. The root system is generally more contained than plants with aggressive underground runners, and it does not behave like bamboo. It gives you fast height, dense summer foliage, and a practical screen without too much drama. In the thrilling world of boundary planting, without too much drama is a premium feature. Hybrid poplar is not always the longest-lived option, and like all fast-growing trees, it should be planted with thought. But for quick, affordable, practical privacy, it is one of the best choices. So the real decision depends on what you need most. If you want privacy as quickly as possible, hybrid willow or hybrid poplar will get you there fast. If you want evergreen coverage through winter, Thuja Green Giant or Leyland cypress are better choices. If you want food from your fence, Mulberry and Hawthorn give you harvests as well as privacy. If you want a hedge that improves the soil, black locust does that while also forming a barrier. If you want something that may still be standing long after you are gone, Hawthorn and Osage orange have already proved themselves across centuries. The important point is this: a fence does not have to be a dead object slowly failing in the weather. It can be alive. It can grow stronger. It can feed birds, insects, animals, and people. It can improve the soil, soften the wind, capture carbon, block ugly views, and create a boundary that becomes more valuable with time. The fencing industry will happily sell you panels that last a decade or two and then need replacing. It will sell you posts that rot, stains that fade, screws that rust, and replacement parts for the replacement parts. That is the business model. A living fence quietly refuses to participate. Your great-grandparents did not need treated timber panels to define a boundary. They planted hedges that held land, sheltered livestock, fed families, and shaped whole landscapes. Some of those hedges are still alive now, doing the same work they were planted to do generations ago. So choose one or two plants that suit your climate, your soil, and your purpose. Order bare root plants in winter if that is available in your area. Plant them in early spring while they are dormant. Water them well in the first season. Prune them with a plan. Give them time. By the next autumn, your living fence may already be doing its job.